Linda, you're up.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, sorry it took me a couple minutes to get on. I was having a little trouble with the link. No, so I was kind of thinking, I've always kind of had a fondness for All Saints Day, and I just thought if everybody wanted to maybe spend a minute or two with some of their um favorite saints, I mean I can start, or Sister Cindy, it doesn't matter. I just kind of thought I'd get the direction kind of going with that.
Well,
Well,
why don't you start because it's your special
sure.
topic.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I know like when we went to we usually go to vigil masses, and we went to the vigil last night, and I always enjoy going to church on All Saints Day because obviously the homily is kind of geared towards the number of saints. And the last couple of years, and it's been different priests that have done this, but they'll kind of give you like a little bit of a background on a particular saint, and then you kind of have to guess who it was. And the priest that we had yesterday was actually a visiting priest, and it was basically he was going through saints of that local churches were named after, and we got most of them right. I was pretty happy, but one of the things I was really proud of when he was talking about a saint that was a carpenter. Obviously, he was referring to Saint Joseph, who I've always had a special fondness for. But he brought up Saint Joseph in Cogga Falls, which was my home parish when I was growing up, and he also brought up Randolph, which I thought was interesting because that's Portage County. We obviously live in Summit County. I don't know how many people in the church would have been aware of that, but I thought that was pretty cool. So for me, I mean, it's always been Joseph and Mary, obviously. Um, and sister will be familiar with this, and as well as you and Cindy as well. I've always had a good devotion to Saint Benedict. Of all the like the blessed medals you can get, that's always the most highly indulgent. Saint Benedict is always very, it's a really a good holy man. I mean, everyone, all of them are holy, but there's just an attraction to Saint Benedict for me anyway. And then I've also always had a real interest in a lot of the Marian apparitions, which I think are really interesting. And one would be, and I'm just going to name two more saints and I'm done. But one is Saint Bernadette, because when I was a kid, I was always a little envious of kids that were born on feast days. And there's always a saint on every feast day, but some of the, like the more well-known saints. So with my birthday being April 17th, the feast day of Saint Bernadette was April 16th. And I was like, oh, I missed it by like 12 hours. But I always found the story of Saint Bernadette really interesting. And I actually went to a school with a girl whose name was Bernadette, born on the 16th of April. So I'm always thinking she was probably named after Saint Bernadette. But I've always found the story real interesting. I'd love to go to Lourdes someday. I have not been to Lourdes. I would really like to do that. And then the last one I want to bring up is there's a Saint Catherine, if I'm pronouncing it right, I think it's Labouré, and she's connected with the Miraculous Medal, which was a vision in Paris, a Rue du Bac in Paris. I was in Paris years ago, did not go to where that apparition had occurred either, but I had visited an elderly aunt many years ago. And when I was visiting her, she had a little, kind of like a little religious booklet, because I like reading religious stories, and especially with the saints and all that. And I asked her, I said, where I wasn't all that old at the time. I was probably my early, I don't know, late teens, maybe early 20s. And I said, well, where'd you get that booklet? Because I would be interested. And she said, no, she said, basically, you have to become a member, and I'm not using the right word here, so forgive me for that. But there's Miraculous Medal, basically, it's a devotion. And for like, I don't know, it's like 25, 50 cents a year, you can enroll different people in that. And so she said basically you have to become like an enroller of, whether they're living or deceased. But it's to really to spread the devotion. And I was really interested. So it wasn't like, oh, you just send $10 away and get the magazine. No, you had to kind of become involved in the devotion, if you will. And I did, and I've been doing this for decades, a lot. But um and the story is it's a pretty fascinating story. But lo and behold, then when I had my kids 3 years later, Daniel is my middle child, and I think I've seen it kind of different dates. I don't know if it's like because St. Catherine Labouré, she has one day, and then the Miraculous Medal is actually the next day. And I think St. Catherine might be the 27th and Miraculous Medal is the 28th, or vice versa. I'm not sure which, but I know Daniel's connected to one of them. So I really like that. And then my oldest was attached to her birthday is on St. John Chrysostom, which was one of the oh, now my mind's going blank. That's not a leader of the church, but I think he was called the Golden Tongue because he was like a doctor of the church. Basically, he was like considered a very great orator of the church, great speaker. So There's a lot of them. There's too many to name, but kind of in a capsule. Those are kind of like the highlights for me. So I don't know if anyone else has any that they would like to share, but it's this I like All Saints Day. It's just told it's a good, yeah, it's a nice day to celebrate all the holy people in the
all right,
church
thank
that we
you,
know of and
Linda.
don't know of. So
We'll let Cindy go next because I
sure.
know she picked one out.
No,
Okay.
we'll let Chuck and Sister go, and then I have something, but you guys go first.